Okay, hi. I'm very pleased to kind of share this piece because it's core to the process of unraveling our samsaric identities and restoring all the energies and uh, aliveness that had gotten caught up in them to our being just here. So once again, you'll hear me stress this again and again. The most essential aspect of our awakening is recognizing what's here, what's there at the near end of our neurons, prior to the whole narrative that we tell ourselves about who we are, what this is, what we are, what who we others are. All of that is within the field of representation, which has been subsumed by the synthetic superimposed overlay of this, the matrix, this samsaric world. So recognizing non-conceptually, non-verbally, what's here, experientially, noticing it, noticing what it's like, getting used to hanging out here, is the core essence of awakening as a person, as a man or a woman in this world. That's the core essence of it. For that to happen, the nervous system has to become less disorganized, less, spinning out in sympathetic overdrive where there's a sense of apprehension and anxiety and maybe anger. What am I going to do? Kind of thing. Or like giving up and collapsing and pulling into a depressed state where we don't want to be engaged with any of it because we can't figure it out. Haven't figured it out and it's not working for us. Both of those patterns in our psyche, physiology, nervous system, and relational field are symptoms of a disorganization in the underlying nervous system. So if it's not too severe, we can often find simple ways of bringing ourselves back to just here. Just here in neurological terms is what's called rest and digest. And it's also called our social engagement system. It's like when we're able to relax and just be ourselves here with others, we're available for exchange and response. If we feel our innate connectedness with life, with others, with the whole movie. But because our world is encapsulated and abstracted from this universal self-organization and harmony, balance, coherence. Our organisms' systems are kind of running on an overdrive. And it makes it harder to be here. So coming back to being here, that's the essence. I'm going to talk more about that, but not now. What I want to talk about now is the extraction of our consciousness from particular identifications within the matrix. Okay. So I'm going to use me as an example. I just got back from shopping. I bought food. And there was a person there, a woman who my organism found attractive, just visually, just and maybe a little bit energetically. There was no interaction. I noticed when I left the store, I was in a kind of a puffed up persona, a persona that felt elevated or inspired in a kind of, I would call it like late adolescent male identity. It was a certain, I was experiencing my aliveness through an image of what this felt sense meant about who I am in the world. Something like that. So I notice it. Okay, so the next thing to do is, to the best of my current ability, let it be there. It's already there. Duh. Acknowledge it and release it. Let go of it. Let go of my grip on that image and just let it be there as a patterning in the nervous system, psyche, energy field. But step back from it and focus more on the field in which the patterning is existing, more like the space that includes the field of energy that is the patterning underlying that particular fixation or image of me. Okay, so what that means to me is, to the best of my current ability, just come back without expectation or any requirement, to just being here to the best of my ability, and notice what it's like. I can do this to some extent. And so I brought myself back and I started to notice the expanse of stillness that underlies all the movement, always. And I kind of relaxed back down into being here more, into the unspeakable, nonverbal, non-conceptual presence of being the awareness of now. The whole moment, including this configuration of energy that I had been briefly identified with. Then it was a no-brainer, because that's kind of like a static, brief jolt of neurochemicals. And this is like a continuous infusion of goodness and purity and presence and love. Way, way, way more interesting once we discover it. And kind of begin to get used to hanging out here. So in another moment, if in another moment or another particular identification of mine, um, in response to a situation or circumstance, um, I could have, just boarded the train of thought and gone down the tracks for some long period of time. Has happened a lot in this lifetime. A little less now. A little less now. Somehow in this organism, and I suspect it's emerging for all of us, there's just developing a very sincere and innocent interest in just being here. And the more I hang out here, the more likely the kind of thing that happened when I got in my car and drove away this afternoon will happen, that I'll recognize these synthesized versions of me within the samsaric matrix, the my version of the collective field of representation in our minds. The more those things just they don't taste so good anymore. They're not so interesting, and they're more obvious. A little while later, I'm driving along, and this event happens within the traffic that I'm in. Not much traffic, but there was a process that happened, and I just felt like I handled that well. I threaded the needle well, and then there was this other persona. One of my driver personas showed up, just gleeful, sort of, or proud. Nothing wrong with that. And I'm not saying something wrong with it. I'm just saying it was an image of me that came out of a moment, and it's reasonable that those energies brought forth that image, but that's not who I am. And I saw it, I recognized it as an image, and pretty quick it just dispersed back into the field of potentiality, and I was present again. So I think this is kind of the fastest and easiest way for us to deconstruct that stuff, what I'm describing. And it's not fast and easy until we get relatively stable and comfortable with being here. Or it gets, let me say that differently. It gets faster and easier as we get more stable and comfortable with being here. And we begin to withdraw our grabbing onto it as this is who I am now, or pushing it away of, oh, I'm not that now. Both of those are still within the matrix identity, and will some of it may purify because it's just been coming through our being to be purified, but we'll still have vestiges of that particular pattern. the more we're able to just be with it, let it, like I initially described, let it be here. I wasn't proud of feeling like that or thinking that's who I am. It was just what actually came. I didn't invoke it or anyway. Situation was a stimulus. It stimulated a pattern. The pattern appeared. I didn't take it quite so personally as I often do. And I was able to some extent to just be present with it. And it moved through. It was, yeah, it wasn't me, not who I am now. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say about that. I hope you found that helpful. That's kind of the direction we're going. I will speak about just some simple things to do when we're spun out or collapsed that can tend to foster a more settled experience. So I guess, where is it? There it is. I guess that's it for now. Thank you for your attention.